Welcome back to 365 Unlimited. We are back with another episode. It's been a minute. It's been a while. Haven't had much time to sit down and record. Kind of wanted to take a break from, I feel like it was social media in general, kind of get away. And Gannon got a new job. Carter made a move. I kind of took over a new role, a new position at where I'm at with work. So I think these last few months was more so about us kind of getting our ducks in a row, figuring stuff out, and taking that much needed break. But now we want to come back. We want to come back stronger than ever. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. And we're just going to get right into this one, roll it out right away. You know, last time we had talked, we had hopped on here and talked NFL beginning of the season. Now, you know, guys, we're rolling. Like, we're at that back half of the season. You know, fantasy football playoffs are underway. I already got eliminated from my Dynasty Football League, didn't make the playoffs. I'm in the toilet bowl now. So let's just start off, guys. Give me an update. Like, how's your fantasy football seasons going?
In my big money league, go ahead.
No, you're good. I got nothing to talk about. That's good.
So your team sucks, basically.
Oh, all three of them. I'm just glad I'm in a dynasty now. It's not total BS.
So I'm in my big money league, as you guys know. I'm in one that is more of like the important ones. I'm in a few small ones, but this one's like a bigger one. 16 teams, so it's tough. I'm 7-6. So as of now, there's eight teams make playoffs. First, they do top 7, and then the 8th spot is the highest scorer that's not already in the top 7. So I'm currently at 6. So I'm making playoffs. We got 1 week left until playoffs. My team is good. I had some injuries. Rico saved me last week.
Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
Because I have Darnold.
Pick up for me too.
Yeah, because I have Darnold or Love. So I feel like you can't go wrong with those. James Conner, Jefferson, Kupp, Mark Andrews, and Dowdle. So it's not bad. Godwin got hurt. He was a stud for me. So I'm just riding. And if I can place and get some money back, I'm fine with that. So I'm cool with where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm really not going to talk about the 3 leagues with my inability to have success this year. But I am going to talk about why people should join Dynasty. I think it's a really good league. We use our Sleeper app. It's a fun way. Even with me not being very good, I made a couple trades at my deadline in that league. So if you don't know what it is, you kind of carry over. You got to cut 4 guys off your roster for the next year. You go from 18 to 14, and then you have a quick little draft of the rookies. You're pretty much just your own GM and owner of a team from year to year. I made a couple trade deadlines, got a couple third-round picks, so I was able to build a little draft capital that way. That's a fun way to stay involved, because if it wasn't for that, I probably would be done with fantasy, because Bryce and I have had this conversation before. Redraft is if you get unlucky and have some bad luck, whatever it is, it's a nuance kind of fantasy football, but it's annoying to me, and I like the way that the Sleeper kind of breaks down the Dynasty app in a really fun way that's been interactive for everybody, even if you're not very good, and kind of stacking already for the next year, because you can't flip with the way the roster configurations and the offseason moves kind of happen for you playing that league. So that's my spiel about it. I'm not talking about my teams.
Yeah, my teams, I mean, for the most part, I did 4 leagues this year. My Dynasty league, ended up missing the playoffs, and my receiver core was, Gannon knows this, Carter's not in it, but it's Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, added Chris Godwin late, Jalen Waddle.
What kind of dynasty are you in?
My receivers.
Well, a couple of he got Waddle for me in a trade.
And just so everyone knows, I was kicked out of all the leagues because I complained about the rules, and Carlson.
Yeah, guess what?
Out.
Thank you for saying that. Let's talk about this on air, because we were talking about the payout a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to get into details because it's not important, but we brought it up. And somebody says some stuff in the chat, and he gets mad about it. If we're a commissioner of a league, you should accommodate the owners. That's what Roger Goodell does so well for the NFL.
Yeah, he does a great job.
So,
because he tried to pull some stuff on me, where he's like, "Oh, by the way, you owe X amount, by the way," and I didn't know that, and I was arguing just a little bit. I ended up paying, but then I heard nothing. I texted Ludi, "What's up with the draft?" "Oh, we already drafted," so I was cut out. This was like 2 years ago. He's like, "Well, you're in a big money league. It doesn't matter." So I got second that year. So I think that's probably why I was.
What you got to say
booed.
about this, Carlson? You're not taking care of the boys.
No, I think
He knows it's
overall,
true.
no, it is. It is in
Oh, it
part.
is.
In part,
Yeah.
yeah.
Clip
Well, here's
that,
the
clip
thing.
that.
I think anytime you're in a fantasy football league, right, you want people to be 100% locked in. There's been multiple times I've considered dropping Gannon
I
from
got
the league.
second. How was I not locked in?
It ain't always about where you're placing, and you had other priorities in your other leagues. You wanted to take care of that league. You just happened to get second place that year.
Oh, bullshit.
How much
He just
attention
said
are
you
you
just said you were
really
right and
paying?
then tried to spin it. It's normal. All right, let's get back to
Anyway, let's dive into this NFL season. You know, we talk about fantasy football. I know a lot of us involved have done sports betting. Gannon probably not as much being in Wisconsin. Carter, you got limited capacity down in Florida, but being in Illinois, you know, you got the full range of things and the big ability to lose a lot of money if you so choose. But yeah, this NFL season, honestly, guys, I don't know how you feel about this, but like overall, I think it's gone kind of, you know, the way that we have imagined in a sense. I mean, obviously there's two teams out there that stand out right away in the AFC, you know, Buffalo and Kansas City, and then over on the NFC side of things in Detroit and Philadelphia. So overall, let's just talk about our number one team right now. Who do you guys, way too early? I mean, I know it's the back half of the season, but if you were to pick a Super Bowl winner right now, who would it be and why?
I think while Carter takes a sip there, I think right now it's the Buffalo Bills, the way that they've looked, in my opinion, which is start to finish, they're finishing teams off. They're very efficient. Josh Allen's kind of turned the corner, so to speak, in his career, in my opinion. He's taking drop-offs. He's not running the football as much. He does still put his body on the line a little bit that way. They have a good defense. They have a really good run game with James Cook. Joe Brady there can be obviously a hot name for NFL head coaches coming up for a lot of different teams. Chicago Bears for one of them, maybe for Carter Budenz and company there. But right now it's Josh Allen and the team. I think you still can't count out Patrick Mahomes, but it's part of me just being a sports fan and kind of want to see something different. A three-peat's been awesome. A four-peat would be unreal. But, like, it's just whatever. It's, so to speak, I don't understand. Or I do understand why they're good, but they haven't been very good against not very good teams this year. Even on Black Friday against the Raiders, they've won a lot of close games. It's 8 or 9. I think one-score games that they've won. I think on the NFC side, I'm going to go with my Packers just for a Super Bowl matchup. I think a lot of the stuff that they've done is shoot themselves in the foot. Their 3 losses have been to the top teams above them right now. So a lot of different things. Jordan Love's played a lot better. If they don't have some self-inflicted stuff with penalties, some drop passes here or there, a couple different things go their way, I think it's a lot different story with the early season. And again, Jordan Love's healthy. Josh Jacobs is the top 3 or 4 back this year in the NFL. The offense has really been going through him. It's good to see their red zone efficiency. Some different things kind of get wrinkled out against some lesser competition the last couple of weeks. So Thursday night football should also be fun.
I think the NFL is so rigged. I think it's WWE. The reason being, not just because my Bears. Now, let's be honest.
I can't wait to hear this spiel.
Let's
Caleb
be
Williams
honest.
till the end of MVP or what?
I think Caleb Williams has been playing phenomenal.
Yeah, he is. He's been playing good.
There is no way on earth that it is not rigged. And I'm not just saying that because the Bears, but you're going to tell me a Hail Mary loss to our corner who's celebrating. You're telling me there's nothing. Okay. Packers. Okay. Then you go into Minnesota. First off, how did we even get into that game?
Matt
That made
Eberflus, that's how that
made
happened.
no sense to me. Okay. And we also had against was it the Vikings? We had another block field goal. Then you have the block field goal with Denver and Kansas City, and then this crap with last week against Detroit. For me, it's just obvious. And then last week Kansas City and Las Vegas again. So it's rigged.
Kansas City.
It's rigged, but I'm going to get back to what the question was. I like Philly. I think, last week against Baltimore, Baltimore I think is a huge contender in the AFC. Saquon should be MVP. He is out of his mind right now. They're just connecting. Now, obviously, we saw this last year, and then we saw a decline, towards the end of the year. I don't see that happening with them. But a sleeper for me is Pittsburgh. to make it out of the AFC. The reason being is because defense is phenomenal. Russ is playing great. And you got one of the best coaches in history with Tomlin, who's never had below a 500 season. I really like that Steelers team. They're gritty, and I really do think that they have a chance in that AFC.
Dude, Tomlin honestly could arguably – I mean, yeah, there's other coaches that are rightfully deserving of it and everything, but Tomlin, we talk about him never having a losing season and always at least getting the 8 or 9 win threshold. But overall, like, let's just talk about the genius move of – I don't think anyone saw it coming of Russell Wilson playing for this minimal amount of money, having the type of years he had in Denver after the trade, and then kind of ultimately reviving and revitalizing his career here in Pittsburgh. And Tomlin deserves all the recognition for that. Obviously,
and using Fields kind of like Taysom Hill in a way.
Yeah,
where you bring him in for certain
short yardage. Yeah,
yeah, like beautiful
certain
how
packages,
they use
100%.
Yeah,
and it's I think that's just a testament to how well coached that football team is, and the guys they already had in that locker room, and obviously they're hardly paying anything for 2 quarterbacks that have given them a lot this season. You know, Fields stepping in, being that guy, and then obviously Tomlin giving the reins to Wilson. Obviously, it's paid dividends. But I wanted to pull this stat out real quick. I was kind of wondering about it. I believe I saw it a couple weeks ago or a week or 2 ago about the Chiefs. But so the Chiefs have 9 wins this season, right? And they're 11-1, and the Bills are 10-2. So the Chiefs' 9 wins this season. When the point differential has been 7 or below points, they have 9 wins. So in all reality, we look at these gritty wins by a team like Kansas City, right? And when I talk about a Super Bowl favorite and I talk about my Super Bowl pick, this is what I want to see. And a lot of people will take it and see it the other way, and that's fine. But when you're watching a team be able to get what I would –
a way every week.
The gritty wins, the wins where you are consistently, you find a way. I mean, that Panthers game, people are going to knock Kansas City for even allowing the Panthers to be in that football game.
Oh, Bryce Young been balling.
They've been playing good football, but it's a testament to Kansas City. They find a way not to lose those games.
Or the NFL.
Let's pause on that conversation. But regardless, I do think when you have a team that's willing to be battle tested, like those are battle tested wins, right? And when we talk about the NFL in general, the point differential, it shouldn't be that much. It shouldn't. The competition shouldn't be that much. I mean, obviously, you have your bottom tier teams, right? Your teams that aren't going to be able to contend for a Super Bowl. But when you line up, hands in the dirt, and you play against an NFL football team, it shouldn't be a blowout. They're all professional athletes. They work day in and day out. And half the time when it is a blowout, it's typically for draft position, which is the unfortunate reality we have in the NFL called tanking. But it's involved in every other sport as well when it comes time and closer to that draft pick position. But to throw that stat out there, I wanted to just say, like, Kansas City, this season, this team compared to last year, obviously there was talk about, Kansas City upgrading.
Yeah, they did this last year, even though with the inability to put teams away.
Exactly. And I do think this football team this year is a much better put together football team.
Defense is best one Pat's had.
And even when, like, Hollywood Brown, he's set to return from injury here in the coming weeks. They'll get him back. That's a boost for the playoffs. Pacheco's back in the fold. Hunt had a great season being able to come in and fill in for Pacheco when he went out. Obviously, Mahomes hasn't necessarily lived up to Mahomes-like performances overall this year. I don't think Mahomes has had to be that guy, and that's good for him. Well, Mahomes doesn't have to be the guy nonstop the whole entire game. He finds a way to win it still. And that's last year where I talked about Kansas City and Buffalo not even making the playoffs. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes anymore. I think there's a very good, realistic chance that it becomes a three-peat. Yeah.
Remember that, Budenz?
I remember a lot.
Yeah.
They looked better under Cooper Rush, I'm just saying.
Miss me with it. No. Overall.
Yeah, let's just waste a fourth. Let's talk about that. Let's just segue into the Cowboys. Because, I don't know. You guys want to talk about, or he didn't have his pick yet?
It's just a disaster with Dallas.
Sorry, Carlson.
I got
I
Chiefs.
got you. Yeah,
Chiefs.
okay. Just wasn't sure if you want to say anything more before we segue. Because
If you got a question, ask me.
we had a conversation last week, about a week ago, I think, tonight of this when we were recording this on Tuesday at the time. Just what as an organization are you doing wasting a 4th-round pick on Trey Lance and not giving him a chance to play when you know Cooper Rush is a bona fide backup in the NFL? Like, there is just no sense to me when your season's already washed. Yeah. Mike McCarthy should be coaching for his lifeline with the Cowboys. Who knows what Jerry?
What you saying that right there is why Rush is playing, though.
Yeah, but like, why though? Like, at that point, he's won a Super Bowl. He's older. Why not say F it and throw the young guy in there? But that's also a younger guy saying this about an older style coach. But regardless of that, I just don't understand the trajectory of an organization. Dak gets hurt. Dak's been out again for another season thing. He's had multiple injuries. Like, he's going to keep getting older. Like, this is a ticking time bomb when you've invested money and you had to sign him. I'm not disagreeing with that, whatever. That's a whole other discussion. And I know Carter's Dak, whatever, on everything else. And I mean, I agree on some of it, but that's besides, we're not talking about that. But I just don't get as an organization, regardless of how you look at it, how this makes sense. And then the Amari Cooper stuff, falling through with that, not having enough weapons on offense. Like, it's just, it's got to be very frustrating. I know Bryce knows this, being a diehard Cowboys fan, and puts his heart and soul into it, but it just, I don't get it. It's mind-boggling, just as the straight business and sports side of how I look at a lot of things now.
Well, in hindsight, it's always 20/20, but like, you look at a guy like Derrick Henry, who could have easily been a Dallas Cowboy. You look at a stud in CD, who, they won against New York, but dropped so many passes. Like, it just looks like the whole team is not behind anything. Like,
there's no momentum.
There's no momentum at all.
Nothing in any area.
No, but realistically, at this point of the year, when you're sitting now at 5-7, like, the momentum and there's momentum of winning 2 football games, but obviously this football team knows they're not going anywhere. The question marks lay upon who's your head coach next season, and as soon as you get a new head coach, the concern goes from, okay, we now have a new face of the organization, but we don't have an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, and it trickles all the way down to a special teams coach, a linebackers coach. Like, these Cowboys DBs absolutely love Al Harris as their DB coach, former Green Bay Packer under McCarthy. Like, if McCarthy's out the door, Al Harris might go get a DC job somewhere else. Like, it impacts these players more and more than you know. And, when you lose 7 football games and Dallas having lost 5 of the 7 in a row, that it's a grind, dude. Like, we've all been in locker rooms. We've all played sports. We know what it's like to go on runs where you're winning games and momentum is high. And we also know what it's like to lose a few games here and there and lose games you should have won. And I think that's just a testament to any NFL football team. But in this conversation, it being Dallas, when you lose 5 in a row, morale's down. You start to lose the locker room. And I think one thing I've been most impressed with McCarthy this season, probably the only thing I've been impressed with, is he didn't lose the locker room. And early on, my speculation was throughout on Twitter and social media was when you lose 5 games in a row, typically, you've seen it with Chicago. Eberflus had completely lost that locker room. Yeah. Completely. You hear it in the media. You start to hear how players talk about how things are going, instances, and then you could just tell 2 parties are not on the same page. An article just came out with Dak Prescott. He did an interview, obviously, with him being out for the year, and he pretty much said, I feel helpless right now. Like, I want to help our coach have a chance at being able to get a contract extension. So these guys haven't folded on McCarthy. Now, as a fan from outside perspective, should he return? No. We need a total reset. We need a new face. Obviously, the face of the organization will always remain Jerry Jones, which is undoubtedly
it's part of the problem.
It's not part of. It's the full problem.
I think it's similar to the Bears with the McCaskey family. Like, I think it does start at the top and trickle down.
In everything you do.
It's who they hire. It's who they can control. It's a yes man, no man thing. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be mean, but like, you have a lady that's 101 as the, you know what I mean? And it's like, I see that with Jerry Jones too.
It's not even Jerry, it's Steven. Like, it's the kid now.
Right. Well, the problem is Steven's running the team. Jerry's speaking.
Yeah, and
nonstop.
it's just, and regardless of the combo, you want to say who's doing what and when and where, it's all messed up. Like it's just,
Every time Jerry Jones talks, like he just digs himself deeper. I feel like
He
when he gets on
doesn't
those
know.
radio shows, like
But the 2
like
point,
even going back to the sun and the shadows, like how is that an issue when you build a facility like that for day games? Like it's a
With
whole
the
nother thing
sun,
of
yeah.
like having a player environment to be successful. You embrace these guys and you build the best thing for him and not the best thing for him in his pocket. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
No, I think we could honestly could do a full episode on talking about this conversation without even talking about the Cowboys on-field players, like
It's just so
on-field performance. We could do a whole breakdown of the issue, and obviously the issue is Jerry Jones. But when Gannon brought up Trey Lance, like here's the difference right here. If it's McCarthy, you're probably starting Cooper Rush. If it's front office, you probably want to see
like,
Trey Lance.
when
And
we were
it's
talking about
trajectory-wise,
this,
draft picks, all of that. But if you're McCarthy, realistically think about it. There's no reason you weren't the one who traded the 4th round pick. It was your front office. But guess what? You probably aren't going to be here next year. So why do you care to play the 4th round pick that you lost? Why would you care to play that player that you paid
I just
for?
wouldn't. Yeah, you can't watch Trey Lance
And McCarthy
Cooper
wins.
Rush play.
McCarthy wins with Cooper Rush. Somehow, some way, we win. And I'm not saying they're good wins, and I'm not saying they're good teams. And at this point, two wins that have most definitely impacted our draft position now. Early on, having a shot to pick top 8, top 10. Realistically, we win. I mean, there's a good chance we win two more football games and we end up picking pick 19.
I mean, it's just
there's a lot of holes on this team.
The 4th round pick, literally could be a starter for you. Could be a bona fide guy. Like with good front offices, good GMs, and good owners, they find good players in those picks. And then, like you said last week, Bryce, if you give away the 4th for Trey Lance, you're bringing it to be a security guy that if something happens to Dak before the season, that you could have a starter. But then if something happens to Dak now, like it has, he's not playing. Like it just. You think one way when something gets moved and something happens, then when push comes to shove, it makes you feel a different type of way than really what it should. And it's mind-boggling.
Let me go through this real quick. I just looked it up. You made a good point. So obviously the 4th round pick value, some teams can hit there, some teams won't hit there.
The good teams hit. That's the thing. It's not if they do or don't. Over time, good organizations hit.
2022, Dallas took Jake Ferguson in the 4th starter. We took, in 2020, Tyler Biadasz, starting center. Now he's with Washington. 2019, Tony Pollard was our star running back.
Yeah, and you give that
Armstrong,
away, and then you're sitting that on the bench. I just don't.
Schultz, and then obviously the big one, Dak Prescott, finding our star quarterback in the 4th round. There is value in that round. Well, he wears a star on his helmet. So
that's what you were saying. Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, I think we could dive into this in full detail when we talk about
I don't want to get pissed off more.
Yeah, you're telling me I have to live with it every day and think about this as my football team. And Gannon and I had this conversation too. It's not like I'm just going to up and leave. I am not that type of fan that's going to be like, hey, stuff is terrible with this organization. I've already been through it my whole life with this team. Oh, yeah, next year I'm going to wake up and say, I'm going to be a Colts fan. I'm going to be a Chargers fan. Things are looking up and coming there. I'm going to hop to that team. No, my thing is, it is, if you are a true fan of the game, and that goes with any sport, you're probably going to ride out the tough times. I mean, Carter, you've been riding out the tough times with Chicago for years on years. It ain't easy, especially, there's a difference between loving the game, watching the game.
I don't know what that feels like. Sorry, boys.
No, but you get what I'm saying. There's a difference between loving, watching.
Oh, it's invested.
Yeah, living and dying by your team, and then just compared to the average viewer who tunes in on Sunday and says that someone like Cooper Rush should start over Dak Prescott. I mean, that's just a fairy tale. But those are the type of fans that will jump ship and pick different teams and blah blah blah, and it is what it is. But what do you guys want to transition into from here?
Can we talk about my Bears for a sec?
We can.
Let's do this break, and then we'll talk about the Pack.
I'll tell you, I know who their next head coach is going to be.
I would love it to be Ben Johnson.
Yep, that's who everyone wants.
Also, the guy from Buffalo,
Joe Brady.
There was a
What a
few
name.
others.
Joe Brady.
I thought I also
a
saw Kingsbury. That would be cool. I would like that.
Yeah.
I don't. I think here's what's going to happen. They're going to take an old guy,
Oh,
You're right. You're right.
and
You're
they're
right
going
in a sense right there.
and it's going to be. I don't want it,
should
but I
have
think
been
it'll
Jim
be.
Harbaugh. That's who. If it was
Yeah,
anybody old.
but I think they're going to get a guy like Vrabel or someone like that. And I wish we could get a young guy that understands, because if you just look at Thomas Brown when he came in as OC, you can 100% tell a difference with our offense.
Yeah.
We're moving the ball, we're throwing it downfield. Our offensive line is a huge issue. Caleb Williams, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. Sometimes he holds on too long, but he's really good in the pocket. He can get out. He can throw the ball. But Eberflus getting out. I mean, I just don't understand how we've lost these games. Like we should have beat Washington. We should have beat Green Bay without a doubt. We should have beat Detroit, Minnesota. We should have, but we kind of were out. They kind of let us back in, and Detroit did too. But those are just games that, as a fan, it's painful to watch. But at the same time, you're seeing progress. So, I can't be super upset. At least I'm seeing that the team is in the game, but it's a disaster, pretty much.
So I was digging around today, kind of curious, and I find it more honestly like there's certain aspects of the NFL offseason that I find way more interesting than I do, when it comes time to putting the hand
Be
in
a
the
Cowboys
dirt.
fan.
And well, yeah, and especially when you're having a tough season like Dallas is, and I'm not truly as invested as I am on a typical year, and I have for the last 3 years of 12 wins straight. Obviously, not doing anything in the playoffs, but you get the point. And I've started to do a lot of looking into what job's going to be open for certain head coaching spots for these guys to land. And when you look at the NFL coaching cycle, honestly, it's piss poor. And the majority of the time, it's recycled coaches, right? It's guys that get canned or they resign and they pick up a front office job. They get a little bit older, then they re-enter the league, then they take over the head coaching job of this, or it's either old coaches or hot and upcoming coaches that are coordinators.
So who are the Bears going to – if you had to guess, who are the Bears –
if I had to guess today, so it's down to two names in my opinion, and I think the obvious one's Ben Johnson. I think the interest is there. I think if Chicago and the McCaskey family is willing to throw out the money, I think that's the job Ben Johnson would be foolish not to take. Like you get the quarterback, you get a team that already has an offensive setup, and as far as weapons goes, yes, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are only getting older, but Odunze's there, Komet's there. You get in the draft. If Ben Johnson's your OC, you're no doubt grabbing some offensive linemen in the draft offseason. That defense is young enough. I think that's Ben Johnson could do something with that, right? And scheme is only going to help Caleb. Overall, so we talk about the hot upcoming coach. That's Ben Johnson. And then I think you could partially throw Kingsbury into that hot and upcoming.
Yeah.
He's already been the head coach, obviously, in Arizona and done it at the college ranks, did it with Caleb in college. I think that would be a terrible mistake to hire Kingsbury as a head coach again because he's a coordinator through and through. That's what Kingsbury is. I don't think I don't want to say he's not a leader of men, but I think he is good at picking apart defenses and focusing on calling a game X's and O's wise. That's what I think he's great at and can get better at too.
Yeah.
But if I were to throw a name out there right now, I saw this name a couple days ago. Don't be surprised if it's John Gruden. Don't be surprised if it's John Gruden. And I say that because, so there's the difference. The hot and upcoming coaches, the old coaches who have been away from the game, and they always find a way to get their heads back into the game. And Chicago would be a perfect place for a guy like John Gruden. John Gruden, excellent with quarterbacks, right? Like he's able to connect with quarterbacks. He understands quarterbacks. You listen to him, with the barstool
He
stuff.
was able to. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20
That's
years
the thing.
ago.
But when we talk about old
Let's
coaches,
close the
right?
yearbook.
Old coaches, it's always a was. It's never an is until you give that guy a chance.
Look what it's doing. I just think you have to
But
get.
that's how the head coaching cycle
Bill
goes.
Belichick, baby.
But those
you're
cycles
not
are-
hiring anyone. You're not
Those
hiring
cycles are
anyone that's not an offensive mind. I'll
It's
tell you
slowly
that.
turning
Chicago,
out to just be the young
I
guy.
agree.
Like it's just. I don't know if Bill Belichick gets back into coaching and has the same success.
No,
And
I'm not.
He's defensive minded. You're right. We need an offensive minded.
Like it's a no brainer when you go this way. But will it happen? I could see the John Gruden move happening.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's good by any means. I'm not saying Gruden could even effectively work.
But I think it would be a different, like a Mike Vrabel type guy before that. I mean, I think
it's Gruden over Vrabel.
In my opinion, I just like Joe Brady with what he's done with Josh Allen's transition with his career. I know I said this earlier, probably word for word verbatim, but it's just been very refreshing to see Josh Allen play football. Obviously, it's not the same exact style as Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams can use his legs and be very effective that way. You saw that firsthand when he went against the Green Bay Packers a couple of weeks ago and was shredding them alive with just his legs. Like there's a whole different factor with Caleb Williams just being a playmaker, letting him do it, but also having reins within the offense of a good run game with the two backs that they have that are already similar to the Buffalo setup. Yes, there's a lot of different factors there but having a good run game, obviously getting some pieces for their O-line and some guys on the outside of the wide receiver and in the tight end room there in Chicago, that offense is a commodity for coaches that want to come in and coach day one and have this kind of be something they can mold and be there for Caleb Williams in his growth in his career down the road. I think it'd be really fun to see Joe Brady that way. Now, again, can he run a locker room or those different types of things? He's been in a lot of different areas. He was with Joe Burrow at LSU. He's been in a lot of good winning cultures, so I think he could transition into being a very good head coach. That would be something for my pick, and to see the growth of Caleb Williams as a quarterback as Josh Allen is now. Like it's a different Josh Allen.
So let me ask you this, Carter. Out of these names, CBS Sports threw out some names. John Gruden's not on this list, but like I said, it's the difference between hot and upcoming old coaches that either get back into the game or recycle through. Like you'll see a Pete Carroll suddenly become a head coach possibly again next season, being in Seattle's front office this year, taking a year off coaching, Belichick returning, all that fun stuff. But the only name you cannot tell me right now is Ben Johnson, okay? So you got to pick from the rest of this list. You got Joe Brady, which Gannon mentioned, Thomas Brown, your interim head coach, Aaron Glenn, Lions defensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, Buccaneers offensive coordinator, Bill Belichick, Arthur Smith, Steelers offensive coordinator, and Cliff Kingsbury, Commanders offensive coordinator. If that was your list without Ben Johnson, you can't pay him enough. He doesn't want to come to Chicago, which ultimately I think it's probably Ben if you pay him the money. Out of that list, who are you saying is the next head coach and why?
So one of the things I'm torn on, and the Bears have done, is they always go after a first-year head coach.
That's the hot commodity, which is Ben.
And it never works out for us. Never have we taken, except like we took that Fox guy a couple years ago from Denver, who was a nightmare. But like, we don't ever get a
John Fox.
Recycle coach. Recycle. Hot upcoming recycle.
Forgot about John Fox.
Like the hot up and coming coach, I understand, right? They're young, they get the offense. It's typically offensive minded, but there is something to say about a coach that's been there and done it. And I feel like the Bears never go and get a coach that's been there and done it. I feel like it's always this new up and coming. We take a defensive coordinator for our head coach. We take this guy, and not saying
like
that
leaning towards Bill with this
a little bit, not because I think
you said a little bit.
No, not because I think Belichick would be the greatest for our offense. I really don't, but I just think Belichick's been there and done it, and those coaches I think we need with the talent we have right now. Like with what we have right now, we have a team that we can win. Like we get some offensive linemen, we have a chance. And we're not going to have this forever. You look at a couple of years ago and we had a stud offense or a stud defense and we had, Mitch and those guys. I'm not saying he was anything, but we have a team that has potential. So getting a guy like Bill, regardless of his coaching style would fit with us, I think it does have something to say with taking a guy that's been there
Yeah, I
and
mean, you're
putting
not
him as
wrong.
head coach. I mean, very rarely are you going to take an offensive coordinator, throw him in as a head coach, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, like, look at this team. Like, you look at most of these teams, you have an Andy Reid, right? You have a Harbaugh who's been there forever. You have a Mike
You have Nick
Tomlin.
Sirianni and Matt LaFleur. I mean,
Exactly.
it's
Exactly. So part of it is coaching versus the team that you have in the leadership. I think as much as I hate the Packers, they know how to draft every year. They know how to draft. They know how to get guys. Pittsburgh, it seems like every year they hit on Baltimore, same thing. So it's coaching, but I think it almost goes higher than coaching.
oh yeah,
And
it's a
that's what
trickle
I
down
think
like
the
we talked about
Bears.
earlier.
Yeah, I think that's really what the Bears have an issue with. So I don't know. I mean, a sexy pick would be like your Ben Johnson or your Brady,
Yeah.
right? Those offensive-minded gurus, if you will. But I don't know, man.
Honestly, out of that list, this might sound crazy, but out of that list, I honestly don't quote me on this or anything, but I think so. Both Lions coordinators have the potential to get a head coaching
Yeah, I
gig,
like
right?
Aaron Glenn too. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I honestly, you talk about
A culture, a team
overall,
guy, the way he coaches on the sidelines every week,
that seems like a head
it's
coach to me.
energetic, dude. Like that guy
We
is
don't
like
need,
genuine.
but I get that. But I don't want
He's a
another
defensive guy.
defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I get that. That's why I say like it's Joe Brady to me because it's worked
Yeah,
out with Green Bay, and I'm taking that flyer every time
You
with
know
the
what?
younger guys.
Interesting.
If you can get a younger quarterback in a younger run game and the younger weapons and have that buy-in from like Carter said, I think it's a good segue into talking about the Packers a little bit, so to speak, with some of that of why the Packers' success has been sustained. I mean, Matt LaFleur's top three or whatever, top two in wins in his career. I mean, the Packers are top three in wins since 2018. Like it's just with the whole roster transition, everything has shifted since COVID time with Aaron Rodgers and that window that everybody thought was needed to not be closed. It got closed, and now this whole roster is the best time to be a Packers fan, in my opinion, in my lifetime growing up, just because these guys are young. Everything across the board is setting up very well for them. They have a better run game that they've ever had. It's better than when they had Aaron Jones. They were in and out of the lineup with some injuries, knock on wood here, with Josh Jacobs being just a wear it down, give it to him every single down type back with their offensive weapons, their playmakers. The biggest thing is when they've had flags and drops. I said this earlier. This is when they shoot themselves in the foot and why the games stay close with different people because then it gets them out of scoring in the red zone. They're also their red zone efficiency in their offense has kind of taken something the last couple of weeks with LaFleur and some of his adjustments that way. But it's the defense getting turnovers, kind of being the playmaking type of Xavier McKinney. Quay Walker's kind of my X factor on the defensive side of things. If he can show up and play really good football and be a backer from sideline to sideline, it's a whole different team because he can take away a run game with his athleticism. Edgerrin Cooper's coming off an injury. Don't think he's going to play tomorrow night or 2 nights. Probably going to be another week or two with him. They have weapons. They're young. It's just how much is this inexperience going to hurt them, or is it going to be something good like when they go on the run like they did last year with Dallas? But then again, they shoot themselves in the foot with some things. With Jay Love forcing some balls, I still love him throwing the ball, being aggressive. He's a lot healthier now than what he was early in the season, which I think was some of his turnovers. Some of them were just bonehead bad decisions, which he's acknowledged, and some of those things. But I don't want him to shy away from being aggressive and feeding the ball downfield because when he puts it in between the numbers on somebody, it's one of the best arms in football, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think if Green Bay if they can get some more production going from those second layer of receivers, obviously you got Jaden Reed and he's
just consistency. Like it's
the
the Christian Watson, the Dontavian Wicks. I think Malik Heath could be a really good playmaker for him. Jaden Reed's going to get his.
What's up with Watson, dude? You look. It's Bree and Musgrave's been a huge
Kraft.
Kraft's been unreal, and your running game.
Watson's having good games. The one drop was kind of magnified in the sheer trajectory of the game. He is having a pretty solid year. He's staying on the field right now, and he gets the ball in his hands. He can take it to the end zone. Like it's so much the schematics of these defenses that they're playing and their game calling is a bigger factor with getting guys open in the intermediate and the short range of things. In my opinion, too, why Christian Watson he just has to be on the field for some games. In my opinion, to help the Packers win the game. Dobbs gets out of concussion
Watson
protocol.
is now, right? Like Watson's never going to be a one. If he can stay on the field and be a an
Yeah,
upper,
no, he's a great
upper
rotation
level,
piece.
like and that's what
Great.
that's what a lot of the receivers are in Green Bay right now. Like it's your rotational guys. Like
But that's
who's
the
going to be the one
point
to step
also.
up.
That's also some of the
It
point of the
works.
offense.
It works in some situations. And I think it works in this. But
I just can't believe, back to my Bears, how we lost to Green Bay. Like, that is the most Bears thing ever to happen.
no, you see like multiple people, the TikToks and everything of like just people sitting there, Bears fans with their phones. Like, I already know what's going to happen. I already know. Like, this kick can get blocked. I was sitting with my brother right as the kick was about to happen. He goes, "Dude, it's the Bears. They're going to miss this field goal."
I watched the Commanders game with Reinhardt. Okay, we were sitting on the couch and we looked at each other and we said, "They're going to throw a Hail Mary and we're going to lose." And literally, it happened. Like, I just don't understand the Bears. It's like, well, you have Green Bay right where you want them. Played a great game.
You've had quite a few teams right where you wanted them to.
I know, and we miss we get a blocked field goal.
But where's that start though? That starts the whole coaching standpoint. Like, and
it's special teams. The game after that, you have DeAndre Carter. I think it was against Minnesota, where he called a fair catch and he didn't back up in the last second, hits his leg. Minnesota gets the ball, they score at the end. Like, special teams has been an issue too. That goes back to coaching. So it's just frustrating as a Bears fan because you see progress with this team, but you're just short, and it's all within a possession.
Yeah. Frustrating times, Bears, Cowboys, all the above. But Gannon mentioned his name. I'm kind of curious, like, where does a guy like Nick Sirianni, if Philly doesn't win it this year, or Philly doesn't do something in the playoffs, does Sirianni
like a first round exit? Do they get booed in the division round? If they're not a top, they might be top.
Is Sirianni a guy that Chicago would call? Offensive ties, doesn't call plays in Philly anymore.
I don't think he's going anywhere from there, but
that'd be another. I mean, just the more offensive guys that open up, it's options.
Oh, and it's just there is a chance of a young offensive guy coming in and changing a locker room with Matt LaFleur and different types of things coming in. There's a buy-in, there's a team atmosphere, there's a fun-loving nature with the guys. Like, it's weird and cliche enough, but like Bryce being a coach right now, Carter understanding the sports landscape, like they understand when you have a team buy-in how crucial that is, no matter the age of these guys, especially grown men. Like the Packers have a first down celebration. They all do the same thing. Like, it sounds corny, and it's a coach inside of me, I think, talking.
Sports.
Huh? It's sports. Like, it's just nobody's bigger than who else gets the first down, and they all do the same thing because they want to buy in and they want to be the guy that gets a picture doing the same thing with everybody that way. Like, it's little things like that regardless, win or lose, that the organization is in a good direction from top to bottom, and it's just a buy-in of everybody.
Who would have brought that buy-in in Chicago?
Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Well, and he played there.
Yeah, just that was the mess up. Like,
we need to bring. I think we need Jay Cutler somewhere in the locker room. Jay Cutler's
having to get bailed out of jail after his last DUI.
I know.
Jay Cutler, keep everyone that was a part of the Bears away from the Bears. You guys need a reset. A reset.
Get a young guy that wasn't even around when all this crap was going on.
Like, just someone that has no idea what the old Bears way is like. Get somebody that knows what it's like. That is outside of the building. And I would have been fine with Harbaugh. And I think Harbaugh would have been fantastic in Chicago being a former player. But don't ever mention Jay Cutler.
I think he needs to be – I'm saying head coach. I'm saying –
okay, let's bring in Rex Grossman.
What, an executive role? Yeah, what would
Rex Grossman, Kyle Orton, they could be your OC and QB coach.
I'd take Greg Olson. He needs to be in there. Dude's a genius.
Greg Olson is crushing it. They just Fox did him dirty.
They did.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Fox. Greg Olson's the best commentator.
Dude, let's talk. Let's take a second into that. Let's talk about how bad Tom Brady is at calling a football.
He's not good.
Respect the hell out of Tom Brady in his career. Whatever. Like, that's over.
Maybe he'll get better at it too.
The way the guy talks about it, football, it is, and it's a lot about me, my teammate. I play with him instead of just calling the game. Like, there's a lot of interesting things that go on when Tom Brady calls a game, and it just feels like a replay. It's also because the Packers, I think, had him for 3 straight weeks. It didn't help either. But it's just, what do you think, Budenz?
I honestly, to be honest, didn't ever really think that he was bad. I didn't really recognize, like, he's terrible. Like, I really like.
I don't think he's Romo bad.
No,
I think
I don't know.
Romo's
I like
good.
Romo.
I can't
Bro,
stand
you have a
Romo.
conversation. You feel like you're in the booth talking.
I like Romo. I think
Romo is a
Romo's
menace.
good.
So
I
Tom
think
Brady feels like a robot that just spits the same things out in a different cycle of words. Like, listen next time, Budenz, when you when you listen to Brady. I don't think there's. It doesn't feel like there's very much depth to him. Where it's like
he doesn't have a hating bone for Tom Brady in him to even consider.
But like, there's other guys that
I
are
hate
going on the
Romo.
road.
I did not like Romo as a player, but I think Romo's fantastic.
Watching film, there's announcers like Kirk Herbstreit breaks down stuff. Like, they might not say the right stuff, but they're fully
Herbstreit
invested.
ain't good for the NFL.
I mean,
but
I'd rather listen to him than Tom Brady.
I'm a huge fan of Collinsworth, but they've been getting like Kansas City. Romo's getting bad too.
Collinsworth, oh my God.
All they do is talk about Kansas City.
Collinsworth's frustrating, but he still brings like his voice and he brings an intrigue to the game of football. Like,
you only say that though because all of us grew up Sunday night.
We did, yeah, 100%.
Not having your homework done.
Yeah,
and 7 o'clock rolls around.
I can't stand Collinsworth. He's about one beat of Tom Brady. They're both on my hip.
Collinsworth's bad when it comes to the sense of like it's continuously Patrick Mahomes.
Dude, it's like
Josh
a dad
Allen.
talk. It's
like when you got Joe Burrow makes a throw and you compare Joe. It's like Burrow look like Mahomes out there. Do you not realize Joe Burrow is in his own category too? Like Joe Burrow is not Mahomes. He's
they
right
did
there
that
with
against.
him.
They did that. Was it Sunday night? When Amari Cooper threw it to Josh Allen, he literally was like, "That's some Travis Kelce to Mahomes."
Yes,
get out of here.
That's like Greg Olson's top tier.
Yeah, you know who honestly is the worst though right now? Al Michaels.
He's a legend though, dude.
He's an absolute legend. Yes, but you can't disrespect. You can't necessarily disrespect Collinsworth then either.
Too, it's how bad the Manning cast has gotten for me too. Bryce and I were talking about this.
Yeah, it's a joke to watch.
Like I used to like it a little bit, but Eli's there sitting like this, watching the game, just chilling. Peyton's trying to throw foam fingers at Bill Belichick a couple of weeks ago.
I think McAfee would do great calling games.
Dude, he would be. Yeah, he would have a couple vitamins. He'd be feeling good.
Him and AJ Hawk.
Well, yeah, them two, but like the reason I would listen to the Manning cast, like I was telling Gannon, like Eli's just there. Like I don't feel like Eli ever says anything.
There to watch football, break down some X and O's, talking.
But that's what
nonstop.
Like Peyton's good at that, and I think Peyton obviously knows 100% what he's talking about. He did it at the highest level and was incredible. But I don't think their delivery, like as speakers, is good enough to put as a presentation on.
It doesn't match some of the guests they have. Like it's just people coming on, and I get that you got to have certain whatever.
It's just entertainment. It's not. Yeah, it's not.
But just give me Belichick and Saban with McAfee.
Yeah, let's have Saban. There's a 9-day difference. I'd rather listen to Saban 10 times.
Give me McAfee.
Belichick.
Yeah, but imagine McAfee, who's the guy who turns introverted people into extroverted, and they start talking.
Gets stuff out of them.
Give me a guy like McAfee who can draw that out of Saban and Belichick together.
But you can't do that with 4 guests for a quarter that's on a time crunch to get them in and out.
The whole guest thing,
get Scott Hansen to call games.
Dude, that boy's electric. Dude, let's talk about that for a second. NFL Red Zone's a freaking game changer. Could you imagine football without NFL Red Zone? Like
when the Bears are on, I don't watch Red Zone.
No, I don't either. But the Cowboys have a lot of 325 games, so it's like the majority of the time I'm watching Red Zone from noon to 3, and sometimes noon to 7 if we have a night game. And it's like there is no better way to watch football. I mean, obviously, if you have YouTube TV and you could have a quad box going on and have 4 games, that's dope. It's still hard to you're watching in the right corner, then you scan to the left corner, bottom right, left. You're looking all over the place. The Red Zone is just like. If you're a fantasy football player, a sports bettor, or just an avid fan of football, like there's no better way to watch the game. And Scott's delivery, I can't even picture them having anyone else do it. Like he is perfect. He was born to do that job. And it's like you can't take a break from it. Like if you're getting up to get a drink, you want to know who scored the next touchdown. Where's the action at? Like,
and you know who I've actually enjoyed listening to, like on the Sunday before the game start is Rex Ryan.
Yeah, he's a yeah.
I don't know if I'd like him calling games, but like I I think he's interesting to listen to. I even think someone like Matt Ryan would be
I
good.
think Dan Orlovsky could call a solid game.
Oh, he's bad, dude. I hate him.
Dude, he
Dan.
breaks down stuff. If you just watch him on Twitter, like his breakdowns of film, like it's just X and O's. It's football nonstop. Like there's just a difference between some different guys.
Yeah, and he also ran out of bounds. Yeah. He's clueless. I would like a guy like Alex Smith. Guys like that I don't know.
That's the thing, though, is a lot of these, like, no disrespect, but a lot of these former players, like, they're so internally smart when it comes to the game of football, but what they lack is the delivery, and the delivery is the most important aspect. If you can make the game sound entertaining and fun, people are going to respect it, and that's why a guy like Collinsworth, yes, obviously a former player, but he may not always, have the sound bites besides the Mahomes and Kelsey talk and the Chiefs, but he does have delivery to where he makes it fun enough for, younger audiences that want to tap in. And, like, that's what we remember him for, right? As kids, when we turn it on, we remember his voice for that. Like,
why can't we need guys like how they have in college football, right? What's the guy's name? Gus
Johnson.
Like, just the electric, like, you look at the Charlotte Hornets.
Freaking screaming.
Yeah, like Charlotte. If you ever watch the Charlotte Hornets, like, their local broadcast, the guys like scream, like
someone throws a dunk down, you're getting a headache. I'll tell you that.
And maybe not to that extreme, but just like college football, and you hear Gus Johnson, and some people don't like it. I think he's awesome. He gets into it. It's not like I don't know.
He gives him nicknames, like he's got sayings, like because he's invested. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Speaking of excitement, next time Gannon was talking about Tom Brady. Next time you're listening to a Tom Brady broadcast, and he's on there with what's the guy's name? Who's he with? Why am I tweaking?
I think it's Burkhardt, Kevin Burkhardt.
Kevin Burkhardt, because he was with Olsen last year. Listen to Brady when there's a big play, because obviously Brady does color commentary, and he's the guy that sounds off of Burkhardt. And when there's a big play, Brady will just like casually be like, "Oh," like just casually like yell in the background. And I'm just like, dude, what are you yelling about? Like your time's not up yet. Olsen was silent until the play's over, and then he talks about the play. Like, that's your job. And sometimes it's just funny when you hear him in the background. He's like, oh, you could hear the player in him where he gets excited and fired up about things. But Gannon, you kind of mentioned, him talking about like throwing out some stories here and there. I wish he would do more of it, but I wish it was detailed. Like, I wish it was like.
That's what I'm saying, because it's just his stories about his, and I like it when he talks about him and his experiences, but then it goes back. Yeah, it's just there's a weird spin on it. And I don't.
We need Rodgers. When Rodgers retires, he needs to call.
Speaking of that, when we record this, his trailer dropped today on the Pat Show. I was eating some lunch. I was taking a little lunch break. It's called Enigma. It's a 3-part docu-series over the last year or two of Rodgers going down to Costa Rica with an ayahuasca experience.
It's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's coming out December 17th.
That's going to be awesome. I hated Rodgers until he left. And
you got to check the trailer. It's wild.
It's an unreal trailer. It's like 2 minutes. Go watch it after this.
He did a light fast where he was in a dark room for 3 days.
They go to Costa Rica with him. They go through his whole Achilles rehab and him going he's been having a crew with him for the last year and a half plus.
I can only imagine if I was that crew. You're on a freaking experience. You're doing things exotically, living for however long. That is.
I just want to throw this out there real quick that I think if we have a year, if this is our year, it's the Irish year to make something happen. Seriously, I think it is. We have more of a chance this year.
I think SMU has a better chance.
There's a chance you're right, but I think this is a really good end to the recording when we just heard this statement being made.
Yeah. There's not much else we could really say. The Irish will never win.
Stop. Texas is a bunch of frauds.
Yeah, Notre Dame's Notre Dame, though. You could get your top recruits, and then guess what?
How about them Huskies?
They're not better than other teams.
We're 4.
You're not winning it after losing to NIU.
Y'all lost to NIU. You would never living that down. You're never living that down.
Who cares? We're still in the playoff. Where's NIU?
We knew they weren't going to make the playoffs. We just didn't know they would embarrass you, and y'all paid them to come to your city and get beat.
Yeah, that's true, but guess
y'all
what?
Y'all paid them millions.
We're number 4. We're going to the playoffs. We
A
would
lot of teams
smash
are. It
SMU.
expanded. It expanded. You would
All
imagine
right,
if we were,
I'm done with this combo.
Yeah, where's Iowa?
Iowa sucks.
They're in the
Putting
same
up
way.
10 points a game.
Bryce can't tell a college team sucks. He's not invested in a college.
No, he's not a
coach.
college.
Yeah, he's
No, I don't
not.
even
He's
know
trying
who
to
he
get in
likes.
because he bets now. He wants to think he's a college fan, but he.
I don't know who
He
Carlson was a fair
looked like
weather
he'd
Notre
be an
Dame
Indiana
fan.
fan. He looked like he'd be a Signetti fan.
A Cincinnati fan?
Signetti. See, he doesn't even know who we were talking about.
He was
Indiana?
He was a fair weather ND fan for years.
As a kid growing up, I watched a lot of ND games. Yeah.
Make it happen, boys.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, we appreciate you tapping back in. This episode was full of rambling, full of sports talk, full of coaching talk, full of who's going to win the Super Bowl talk, full of who's our favorite teams and what's going right and wrong with them. But overall, great feeling to get back into it. Good episode to get into the swing of things. We'll be back. Try to do an episode per week. Get back on the interview train and everything. But as football season's winding down, we didn't obviously do our best to be able to make that coverage possible this season. I think it was kind of just needed for all of us, though, to take a step back for a minute and re-envision what we want to do with this thing. And, you know, obviously with where our lives are at now, we got a lot of things happening. New jobs, new cities, new places, new people. Getting familiar with things is not always the easiest. So if you are someone who is in the same boat as us, who is trying new things, graduating college and finding a job, and take it 1 foot at a time, 1 step at a time. And like Gannon always says, be where your feet are. We appreciate you all for tapping into this one, and we will see you next time.